I won't dim my light for no one.
Welcome back to the Multi-Passionate Mama Podcast. Every week I want to bring you a little mini episode where I share something that's been on my mind, something that's really present for me. I love having guests, but sometimes I find that I have these quirky, fascinating ideas that I want to share. Let's dive in. Hey guys, this is a clip from my recent speech at Toastmasters. I hope that you enjoy it. I wanted to let you know that the audio is not very good quality, but I thought that it would still be really fun to share. It's still got really good content, but my cameraman, who was my husband, was a little bit handsy with the camera, so ever so often there's some hand sounds when in the audio, and also I had to crank up the volume on this audio so that you could actually hear any of this speech. So there's some background sounds, and there's some sometimes I get quiet and it's a little hard to hear. But anyways, I hope that you can still enjoy it and hear enough of it that it comes through all right. If I could just be perfect, wouldn't that fix all my problems? Wouldn't that just make everything okay? And then I had this inspiration that just hit me like a truck the other night. What if I don't have to be perfect? What if I can just be real? And then I did what I do, and I wrote a song about it because to me, music makes everything stick in my head so much better. So I'm gonna sing you the song that I wrote yesterday. And this was part of me showing up messy and authentically because I haven't picked up a ukulele in 6 months. And before that, I had played it for a week. So I'm gonna play you the song I wrote last night. That was not the right chord. Sometimes I am weak, sometimes I am strong. There's times I wanna fight, but right now can we just get along? I know there's a lot to me. Yesterday I was scared, today I'm feeling brave. At first I was tame, but then I misbehaved. Well, I don't have to be perfect, 'cause I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. Well, I don't have to be perfect, 'cause I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. First thing I want to talk to you about is fake versus real, because when we want to show up as our real selves, we first have to identify the ways in which we're not showing up as real. Now, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about real is this quote from The Velveteen Rabbit, and I adore this quote. And it says, in regards to being real, you become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily or have sharp edges or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. Well, that's why I love this quote so much, is because they talk about the importance of showing up as you are, as somebody who has lived life and been loved until your hair falls out. Has anyone lived that long? I know that Jacob has lived that long. And I know that there are those among us who have lived long enough that we have had some damage done, that we've had some parts of us that are imperfect show up accidentally. There are layers to our realness that people cannot see unless you allow them to. And that is such a massive part of being real. It's not something you can see on the surface. It's something you have to allow people to witness, love. And if you don't allow them in, they can never love the real you. One thing that I think of when I think of real versus fake is I think of AI. Has anyone here used AI? A little bit? One of my favorite, most hilarious things that I've seen from AI is when AI tries to make a video of somebody doing ballet or yoga. Have you guys seen those? Where they accidentally suddenly have 3 legs, and you're like, well, if a computer needs 3 legs to do ballet or yoga, why am I so hard on myself? Because it's really difficult for me to do some of those things, and yet the computer can't even get it right. But that's supposed to be the ideal of perfection. So I have to make sure that I look at where am I showing up fake and where am I showing up really as myself. And the second thing I want to talk about is we are human beings that have all these different parts of ourselves. When we are real, we look at the parts of ourselves that are weak and strong, that are ready to fight, and that are ready to compromise. We look at the parts that are scared and brave and tame, and that sometimes get things wrong, because sometimes we make mistakes, and sometimes we do things right, and sometimes we get A's, and sometimes we fail. And all those different things are part of being a real human being, right? I had to ask my husband before I did this speech. I said, tell me what are all the things that I've done wrong. Tell me all the ways in which I have messed up so that I can put some of these stories in my speech, because right now I'm drawing a blank. And he's amazing. He said, I can't think of any. And then after a few minutes, he came back and said, okay, I can only think of one, and it's the way you load the dishwasher. You see, the problem is we have this debate. Do you clean all the dishes, rinse them off, he would say, before you put them in the dishwasher, or do you let the dishwasher do its job and wash the dishes itself? It doesn't do its job right. Anyway, that is one of the things that we disagreed about, and you would call that a flaw. But I would like to point out that it is a perception. And in so many ways, it is merely our perceptions of our own selves that we are considering bad versus good. It is the way that we are viewing ourselves. For example, overweight versus not overweight. I'm actually still overweight, but because I know that I used to be so much more overweight, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. Even though technically I am still considered overweight according to the charts and the things that the doctors say, right? But because of my perception, I'm able to look at myself from a better lens. How can you look at yourself from a better lens? How can you flip the script? Sometimes we are scared, and we might look at being afraid as a negative thing, and we wish that we could just be brave all the time. But being afraid is such a beautiful human emotion, and it doesn't have to be a negative characteristic. When we watch our children go through scary, awful things, when I watched my son Joshua get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, it was so scary. And you know what? I wasn't just scared for him, I was also scared for me. I was scared of what his future was going to hold, but I was also afraid of what my future was going to hold as his caretaker, because he's not just type 1 diabetic, he's also severely autistic. But I was afraid. And if I can flip the script on that, I can look at that as a human emotion, and human emotions are so beautiful. We were meant to have the full spectrum of emotions. We were meant to feel all of it. If you get rid of one, you get rid of all of them. We were made to feel them all. As my husband and I were talking about my potential flaws, some other ones came to mind. It kind of sparked ideas of other things that I have messed up on. We were talking this morning because my daughter hasn't started school yet, even though my boys have. And I showed her this really funny reel that my sister sent me of, it was the Minions from the Minions movies, and they had below it was the women who were doing the voiceover work of the Minions characters, which I'm fascinated by. I love voiceover work. I would love to do that for a living. And my husband was saying what a great career that would be and how much fun it would be. And I said, oh my goodness, I totally agree. I would love to speak gibberish for a living as a voiceover artist. And my 14-year-old daughter was like, excuse me, Mom, that is not gibberish. It is Minionese. It is a combination of multiple different languages. Thank you very much. And my husband gave me a look. Oh, she told you. Yes, she definitely told me. There are many other ways in which I have made mistakes, like when I, crashed the van into the yellow poles at Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband was like, oh, yeah. And my husband was walking out of Walmart, and I was driving to pick him up, and he waved at me, and I was like, oh, here I am. And I turned and right into the yellow pole, and he was like, how did you not see the bright yellow pole? So, what happens in our lives is that we have these moments, these periods of time where we're like, I am the greatest thing ever. What are you talking about, flaws? And that's where I was at this morning. And then we have these other periods of time where we're like, no, flaws is all that exists here, and nothing good happens. And we have to remember that both exist. Both exist, no matter how our emotions pull us in any given moment. We are complicated. We are everything. We are both good. We are both bad. That's why I really loved watching Inside Out 2, where they show Riley and all of her emotions, the good ones and the complicated ones, the anxiety and the joy and the anger and the embarrassment, all of it together as they hug her core being and they say, all of this belongs here. All of these emotions belong inside of us. The last thing I wanted to talk about was that, have you ever noticed in movies when they want to have a character that we're going to root for, that we're going to really decide that we want to be like, they make sure that there are flaws in that character. They make sure that we have pieces that we can relate to in that character. One that comes to mind is Princess Diaries. They made sure that Anne Hathaway's character was clumsy, that she was socially awkward. She wore glasses, which I don't know if that could be considered a flaw, but back when that movie came out in the early 2000s, they considered that a flaw, which is a little bit unfortunate. But they made sure that these characters were relatable, that we could connect on a deep level in feeling isolated from each other with these different things. And when they want to have a character that we're going to hate, that's going to be the villain, that we're going to hate that person, if they make that character perfect. They do everything they can to separate us from that character's personality, from everything that they do, by making them seem better than us. They don't have anything wrong. They just fit in with everybody. Everyone loves them. There's nothing that separates them, because all of us feel we are left out. We all have that feeling from time to time where we feel alone. That's part of what makes us human. When we share that reality with each other, when we share the truth, when we share our realness with each other, when we share those parts of us that are raw, when we share those parts of us that have the hair rubbed off and the eyes falling out, When we share those parts, that's what makes us real, and that's what makes us connect to each other. So in order to finish this up, I was going to sing this one more time because I really want to get into this. I don't have to be perfect because I'm real, because that is the whole point of this. So I'm just going to sing this one more time. Sometimes I am weak, sometimes I am strong. There's times I want to fight. Right now, can we just get along? I know there's a lot to me. Yesterday I was scared, today I'm feeling brave. At first I was tame, but then I misbehaved. I don't have to be perfect, cause I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. Well, I don't have to be perfect, cause I'm real, I'm real, I'm real. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Multi-Passionate Mama Podcast. I know that we can never be told too many times how amazing we are, so in case you haven't been told today, you are a freaking rock star. When you let yourself shine, you allow other people to take off their filters and shine brightly too. It's about time someone gave you permission to be all of you. If you enjoyed this show, please leave me a review and hit that subscribe button. I know you want more of this. Sharing is caring. Let someone you love know how incredible they are by texting them the link to this episode. They will feel so good just knowing that you thought about them. Lastly, if you want to know more about my courses and coaching, be sure to check out my website for up-to-date details on everything I have available. It's caroleegarrison.com and the link is in the show notes. Always remember that you are a diamond. Don't let anyone dim your sparkle.